Hey everybody, this is Tim with Op-Ed Daily. Got some really big news coming out of Hawaii. A federal judge ruled on Friday that an election can go forward to allow Native Hawaiians to govern themselves. U.S. District Court Judge Michael Seabright explained that the election is a private poll, not one that is run by the state, which is why he denied a motion for a preliminary injunction that would stop that very vote from happening next month. Native Hawaiians are the last remaining indigenous group in the United States that has not been allowed to establish its own government. In 2011, the state passed a law recognizing Hawaiians as the first people of Hawaii, and it also laid the foundation for Hawaiians to establish their own government. Given how the United States obtained Hawaii, I think this is absolutely necessary. This is something that we absolutely should do. Now, allowing them to govern themselves doesn't mean that they're going to be able to do whatever they want, because the Native American tribes in the United States, they are considered a, quote, sovereign nation, yet the state and federal governments always are messing with decisions that go on in the tribe. They allow or disallow this or that or whatever. With the casinos, they had to fight in courts to be able to bring in gambling onto their own sovereign land, which doesn't really make any sense, and it kind of shows that you're not sovereign if you have to get permission. So it's more of a recognition type thing, and it will allow Hawaiians to have their own businesses. It's Hawaiian business. And they can provide their own services, like Department of Human Services would. They might have something like that. And it's all interconnected simply with Hawaiians kind of set apart from the normal government. And again, I think this is just absolutely necessary, because how we came to obtain Hawaii was just shameful. You know, back in the 1840s, it was important for the United States to keep European powers out of Hawaii. That was a really big foreign policy goal. So what they did was a little head fake. They came in, the U.S. government came in and said, hey, you know what? Oh, we really like your sugar, and we want to overpay you for your sugar. So that's what they did. It's worthy of note that the sugar planters in Hawaii were mostly white Americans. So it kind of worked out, I guess, in that way. So they came in there and paid these white American planters that were in Hawaii. They paid them generously for their sugar. And then, in 1890, Congress approved the McKinley Tariff, which raised import taxes on foreign sugar. And, oh my goodness, Hawaii is not a state or a territory of the United States. So that really hurt the economy in Hawaii. In fact, they started going through what you could consider a depression. Now, the sugar growers were mostly white Americans, and they knew that if Hawaii were annexed to the United States, or by the United States rather, the tariff problem would just disappear. But at the same time, the Hawaiian throne was passed to Queen Liliuokalani. She determined that the root of Hawaii's problems was foreign interference. And that's absolutely correct. She knew what the U.S. did. She knew that they did that on purpose. Oh, hey, we're going to overpay you. And then all of a sudden, bam, hey, you want to send that over here? You're going to have to pay a big old tax. So a big showdown came after that. And in 1893, the planters, yes, the planters, staged an uprising to overthrow the queen. And they were also asking the U.S. military for protection. Like, hey, guys, we're going to go in here and we are going to revolt against somebody else's queen. Because remember, these planters were white Americans, and they came up to overthrow a foreign queen in the country where they were visiting. They were visitors. The history books will show that the Marines stormed the islands, and they claimed that it was without presidential approval, but I'm not buying that for a moment. It absolutely had presidential approval for the Marines to go in there and storm the island. And the American minister to the islands raised the Stars and Stripes in Honolulu. The Queen was forced to abdicate, and then the matter was left to politicians in the U.S. But Grover Cleveland had just taken office, and Cleveland was an outspoken anti-imperialist, and he said what Americans did there was shameful. I agree, absolutely shameful. So he withdrew the annexation treaty and ordered an investigation into potential wrongdoings. He wanted to restore Liliuokalani to her throne, but public sentiment had already turned in favor of annexation. Of course, this was prolonged till after Cleveland left office, and then war broke out with Spain. And the Hawaiian Islands and the naval bases became hugely significant and necessary, and it outweighed all of the considerations because the islands were a way station to the Spanish Philippines. So William McKinley signed a joint resolution annexing the islands in the same way they did Texas in 1845, and Hawaii was a territory until it gained statehood in 1959. Given the history of Hawaii and how we took it, because we did take it, I think it's necessary to recognize and allow Native Hawaiians to govern themselves. You see, Hawaiians aren't just people that are from Hawaii. Native Hawaiians, they look Hawaiian. You can tell a Hawaiian just by looking at them or listening to them. They have their own language, their own culture. They have similar characteristics. It's a complete and total race all on its own. There's nothing wrong with allowing them to govern themselves because they should. Absolutely, they should. Now, if you agree or disagree, please let everybody know in the comments section. Do you think that the U.S. government or the state government in Hawaii should allow Native Hawaiians to govern themselves and start their own government? Or do you think that it should just remain as it is, as it has been? Let us know in the comments section. Hit the subscribe button, please. Share this video because it's big news. That's really big news for this to go on. And this is something that Native Hawaiians have been wanting for a very long time. And I don't blame them. And once again, guys, that's all for now. This is Tim with Op-Ed Daily. Peace out.